Long Thanksgiving weekend. I feel like there was NFL football every day. We had Thursday, we had Friday, we had Sunday, we have tonight. Pastor Rock going to get you set up for the playoffs and for a big Hanukkah celebration. Stay tuned.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. Yeah. Posting like Kobe Bryant, yeah. Flying to see the pie. Yeah. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jet skis. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Woo. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo partner, pass the rock, for real.
That's right. Hanukkah 4 coming up on December 7th. So check us out. We have 8 days of giveaways. We're going to be on for 2 nights. We're doing a Madden Invitational Tournament and a supersized Pass the Rock with trivia, with the whole bit. Like I said, $8,000 in prizes, giving away all kinds of stuff, AirPods Pro, Apple Watches, MetaQuest 2, and Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5. Join us for that. You can go to losttribe.org/lost-tribe-Hanukkah-2023. Get more
information. Dashes.
I know. And now that I'm looking at that, I need to change that to losttribe.org/Hanukkah, but for another day. Zach, big week for you. It's rivalry week. Okay. Your 76ers play my Pelicans on Wednesday. Do you have what else is going? The Lakers are tonight, right?
So they're about to start against the Lakers in about 10 minutes against Jack's Lakers. And then Wednesday they play your Pelicans. And then I believe it is Friday they play the Celtics, who we have a few coworkers who are big Celtics fans. So pretty tough time for me at the office in terms of being a Sixers fan.
And then explain this to me. You're 2.5-point underdogs to the 49ers on Sunday at home. Last I checked, you were 10-1. Is that incorrect?
No, we are in fact 10-1. I think the biggest thing is that, not only have the Niners also looked really good for the majority of the season, they're getting a few extra days of rest. They played on Thanksgiving. They won't have to play again until Sunday, whereas the Eagles played Sunday, have exactly 1 week. Niners get a few extra days. I think that's the reason why it's not just a pick 'em or like half a point, 1.5 points. The fact that it's so high comparatively, I think that's the biggest reason why the Niners are being given that much credit.
Jack, what are the chances next Monday we hear a boo-hoo story about the extra rest that the 49ers got when they whip up on the Eagles?
Honestly, I'm hoping for it because Zach being salty is one of my favorite things in the entire world.
Well, we came close to losing to the Bills yesterday, but all right, this one's for everybody. This one's for everybody to answer. Jack, you start. Will the Pats zag and not pick a quarterback when they get the second overall pick?
While it would be a very Patriots thing to do, I also think Drake May is the most Patriots quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And if they were to actually use their second overall pick on a quarterback, it would be Drake May. That would just make too much sense. So I'm going to say no, because their ideal quarterback is really just sitting there on the board. But I wouldn't be surprised because, the Patriots just taking some random offensive lineman from God knows what university is, the most Pats thing ever.
No, Jack, you're wrong about one thing. Their ideal quarterback is sitting at home with his feet up, retired at age 45.
And there's no telling. I mean, the way things are going, Drake May could get picked first. Throw it out there.
Or you're trying to get a reaction out of me?
I'm not at all.
Absolutely,
I'm just saying
he is. He's lying through his teeth. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to get a reaction, but I'm also saying that I don't think Caleb Williams is a slam dunk. That's all I'm saying. It's not nearly the slam dunk it used to be.
That may be true, but I think once people start watching Caleb Williams' film from this year, they'll see that talent that people thought was a lock to be the number one pick last year is absolutely there. A lot of the things that went off the rails at USC this year were completely out of his control. A horrendous defense, a horrendous offensive line, It's really hard to do well under that situation when you're being asked to put up 50 points every week. So I think when people actually look into the way that he's played this year, he'll be in that number. It'll be basically a lock.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Jack, and anyone else who wants to field this. Who had a bigger crash and burn in college football, Caleb Williams or the Colorado Buffaloes this season?
It's the Colorado Buffaloes by far. I mean, that was the most overhyped team probably that I've ever seen in college football history. I mean, yes, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders coming in, definitely revitalized the program, and let's give him a little bit of credit where it's due. He did double their win total from last season. Yes, 4-8 is not pretty whatsoever, but he did double their wins.
What?
That is improvement at the end of the day. Look, I feel like it's just a brand new type of environment for Deion Sanders. Everyone thought he'd make an immediate splash. It just kind of shows you the difference between Power 5 and where he was before.
I mean, it's just completely unrealistic to think that anyone could come into a 1-11 football team and make them a team that's going to go to even a bowl game in one.
Seemed pretty realistic when they were 3-0.
Okay, well,
wait a minute. I thought they had 2 wins, so he actually quadrupled their wins. He quadrupled their wins. That is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, 4-8 is look. It's not ideal, but based on what they were, there were clear improvements this year, and this team is going to be good at some point. He's gonna get his guys in there, and I think they could actually give him 2 or 3 years. They could be a really scary football team.
Guys, not to it's not worthy of breaking news, but we just had a Shan bomb in the chat. I just want y'all to know. Jack to know what I'm talking about.
Oh, he's talking about the Lions too? Oh, can we talk about the Lions?
The Lions.
You know what? Let's talk about the Packers for a second, Jesse. Here's my question for you. Did the Packers upset of the Lions impress you on Thanksgiving? And can they make a run to a 7th seed in the week NFC?
Nah. No, it did not impress me that much. Look, they also do not have Aaron Jones still hurt again. This offense has been so unpredictable. Like Christian Watson finally decides to show up this week. I'm sure nobody started him in their fantasy leagues. I am still not convinced about the Green Bay Packers. I'm not convinced that Jordan Love can do this on a consistent basis. Well, the Lions offense is great. And I will give a shout out to the defense for turning the ball over and all of that. Their defense has not been amazing this year, and so I'm not as impressed by the Jordan Love, quote unquote, his best game of the season this past week. But it wouldn't be hard to make a 7th seed in the NFC. But this was, I'm not impressed by the Packers. I was not sure it was a great win and it was an upset, but I'm still not scared of the Packers as a playoff threat by any means necessary. They're still at least 2 tiers below the top teams in the NFC.
Let me read you their schedule the rest of the year. You might think differently. Home against Kansas City. That's probably a loss. At the Giants, home against the Bucks, at the Panthers, at the Vikings, home against the Bears.
Who made that schedule?
They got a chance. Well, the NFC North plays the NFC South, so.
It was very clearly an Aaron Rodgers hater that made that schedule.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right, over to you. I already asked your question, Zach. So, Jack, is Kyler Murray done in Arizona?
I mean, if they have a brain, he shouldn't be, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is, depending on where they end up. I think that if they're in a position to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks, I would imagine that he would be done in Arizona. I think they would want to reset, get a rookie contract in there. And there will be teams that will be interested in trading for Kyler if he's on the trade block. They're not going to get nothing for him because of his contract. I think it's feasible if they're in that position. If not, I would be stunned if they moved on from Kyler, because I think he's proven in these games that he's been back so far that he is still a very good, very talented quarterback, and a guy that you can build your future around, even with that contract. So I will say no unless they end up with a top 2 pick.
All right, let's do a little college football, okay? I'm going to be super biased in this next question, but I definitely want to ask Jack and Zach, who are in college and paying a little more attention. Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix for the Heisman? Zach?
Ooh, man, I mean, They're pretty much 1-2 right up there. I feel like you could go either way, but I am going to lean towards Jaden Daniels. I think he's had just both of them have had fantastic seasons, but I'm going to give Daniels the edge. I definitely don't pay as much attention as Jack does, though. I think he'll have the much better take than I ever could come up with.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's going to be Bo Nix. And I think a big part of that will be, I think Oregon is going to beat Washington this week, and I think Oregon is going to be a college football playoff team. And I think Bo Nix is a massive reason for that. And if that's the case, if he's got his team in a playoff position with the season that he's had, I see it's very difficult, even with the outstanding year that Jane Daniels has had. It's going to be tough for him to beat out Bo Nix with that resume. So I personally think it's going to be Bo Nix based on the success of the team. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. Jane Daniels has been outstanding this year.
Yeah, well, let me tell you how it's going to go, baby. Jaden Daniels has more touchdowns over 20 yards than Bo Nix has pass attempts over 20 yards. Okay. Wow. 50 touchdowns. Give the best player in college football the best award. Give him the Heisman. He can't control the fact that LSU essentially has the worst defense in probably the last 50 years. Give the man the Heisman. He deserves it. And then at pick number 12, please, New Orleans Saints, make the right choice. Keep him in the state. Let's go. All right.
Do you think he's going to go that high? I feel like that's a hot take. I don't think I've seen his name that high up.
No, his name hasn't been that high, but the Saints are going to be drafting that high. So, you're going to have to make it work. It's not like Caleb's going to drop or Drake May or anybody else. So, who wins the national championship, Jack?
Oh, man. I hate to pick the chalk, but I think Georgia is by far the best team in the country. I don't think it's particularly close. I think they're going to beat the brakes off of Alabama this weekend. And that they're really going to assert themselves and be like, well, here we go again. It's going to be 3 straight years of Georgia winning it all. Doesn't matter if Stetson Bennett isn't there anymore. Doesn't matter a lot of their defenders have gone to the NFL. This team is still the best team in college football until proven otherwise. I can't pick against them.
Yeah, it's tough because they haven't really been playing consistent games of late, but when they get it going and they play the one half where they are, no one could beat them. I mean, they're just I think Michigan's got the best chance, but we'll have to see how that goes. Tonight, Monday Night Football preview, Bears at Vikings. Vikings favored by 3 for all those that care about that. Jesse, Justin Fields, passing yards. Can he get over 197.5? Not asking much.
Seeing a line start with a 1 for passing yards is just pretty sad. I'm going to say over. I think Justin Fields is going to start cooking again in this Bears offense. I actually think that we might be on upset alert. And while the Vikings defense has been good this season, 197 that's like Kenny Pickett could hit that number. So give me the over.
Especially now, Kenny Pickett could definitely hit that number.
Yeah.
Okay, Zach, DJ Moore over 60.5. Over under.
See, I'm the same way as Jesse's feeling. I think an upset could be brewing. I'm going the over because if the Bears are going to potentially win, DJ Moore needs to see the ball. He needs to see the ball his way, and he needs to score a touchdown. He needs to contribute to this Bears offense, and I think he absolutely could. I feel like that Fields Moore connection, it's been taking its time to really build. We saw 1 week against the Commanders where it absolutely exploded. I think we see that again. I think he'll go well over 60. I think he could even double this line, honestly.
Oh, okay. Big spender. All right. Josh Dobbs, rushing yards, Jack, over under 34.5.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's hit the over on this in 2 out of the 3 games since he got to Minnesota. And the Bears defense is not very good at football. So I'll take the over.
All right. Predictions, Jesse, what you got?
Give me the Bears 24, Vikings 23, a 1-point victory. I think it's going to be 21-20 for the Bears. Vikings come down, kick a field goal late. They think that they've got it all. And then Justin Fields, legacy drive down the field, field goal as time expires for the win, cap off a beautiful week 12 for the Bears.
Legacy drive.
Yeah.
All right,
to
Zach,
make the Bears 4-8, legacy drive.
I was about to say 4 wins, 2 of which weren't him.
That's true.
Zach.
I'm also feeling an upset brewing. I'm going Bears 21, Vikings 17. I think we see the Vikings jump out to this lead. Around halftime, they're up by like 2 scores, but then, have a lot of struggles coming out of halftime. Bears take advantage slowly but surely. It'll take them probably 6 drives to make up a 2-score deficit, but they will make it up somehow, some way, and pull out this victory, kicking, crying, and screaming.
You're really trusting the Bears defense holding the Vikings to 17.
All
right, over to you, Jack.
I'm just saying, I feel like this is a game where the Vikings could just not click for whatever reason. I think, it's the Bears. This should be a solid game. And I know no one overlooks anyone, but at the same time, in the back of some players' heads, they really do at times. Let's be honest.
Jack, let's talk some sense into these two.
Yeah, I've got Vikings 24, Bears 14. I honestly think the Vikings are going to completely outclass the Bears tonight. I don't think it's going to be particularly – oh, my God, that wasn't English. I don't think it's going to be particularly close at all. I think the Vikings get out to an early lead. The Bears sort of hang around, but they don't really ever close that gap, and the Vikings sort of just coast their way to the win. Their defense is way too good for the Bears' offense to do anything productive, and I think offensively they can do enough against a pretty lackluster Bears defense. I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
Yeah, I agree. I have it as 27-20 Vikings, but I think the Bears score late to go from down 2 touchdowns to down 1 before it ends. So, but yeah, I think the Vikings run away with this one. I think they're disappointed they lost to the Broncos last week in kind of a tough defensive matchup, and they're not going to let the Bears come up for air. But I do think that Justin Fields cooks a little bit. I think he gets over his 197.5 passing yards. I think Cole Kmet maybe has around 50 or 60 yards. So I think they do a little work. They just can't get in the end zone. So, all right, Jack, I wrote this question with you in mind. Frank Reich got fired today already. How long do Brandon Staley and Dennis Allen keep their jobs?
Well, those are 2 very different answers for me. Brandon Staley should be gone tomorrow. He should have been gone today. He should have been gone last week. He should have been gone 2 weeks ago. Heck, he shouldn't have made it to this season. I don't know how the man still has a job. This team is way, way, way too talented to be sitting here at 4-7. Every week they're finding a new way to lose a football game, which you could say is just the Chargers, but who else are you going to blame if not the head coach? So I don't know how he still has a job. I don't think he makes it to the end of the season, but I've been saying that for weeks, and somehow he still has a job. So I don't know. Hopefully, for Chargers fans' sakes, if they're out there, it's as soon as possible. Dennis Allen, on the other hand, I think he might make it through the season. I think he might even make it into next year. We've been seeing some. I don't think the Saints have been bad enough for him to be fired. And I also think that their defense has sort of been what has kept them afloat, and that is Dennis Allen's unit. The offense, I think, has been the main source of their problems, and Derek Carr and all that he is as a quarterback, which isn't much. I think that defense has been what kept the Saints in a lot of games this year, and that is Dennis Allen's unit. So maybe you fire the offensive coordinator. I think it's still Pete Carmichael, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the move that you make, but I think Dennis Allen might stick around.
No, you got to get rid of him. I'm just going to go insane if we don't fire him. We should have fired him after last year. He and Derek Carr together coach quarterback combos in the last 40 years. There's 160 of them that have played at least 3 years together. Their record is 157th of 160. It's deplorable. Get rid of them both.
Wow. Just want to throw it out there. There were some rumors I saw online earlier saying that Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson will be a hot head coaching prospect for next year. So please, to any teams out there, please hire him away. Please
Zach, you're 10-1. What more do you want?
I cannot stand the Eagles forgetting how
Get
to
this
play
guy off
football
the show,
for
man.
the first 5 drives of every game. It is very annoying.
You know what? I would be super annoyed if my team was 10-1 as well. That's just embarrassing.
Brian, I have an answer for you about Brandon Staley is going to be fired in week 13 because they're going to play the Patriots, and they're going to find a way to lose to the poverty New England Patriots.
There's no way.
Okay, if they lose to the Patriots and Brandon Staley keeps his job, There's zero meaning in the world.
Oh no, you leave him in
Agreed.
Foxborough. You don't
Yeah.
let him. You don't let
You
him. out
can
of
walk
the stadium.
home. You can walk
No,
back.
no.
LA.
You stop in Nova Scotia. You drop him off. Then you fly.
You go drop him up in
No
Canada.
offense to Canada.
No, I don't even think he could coach in the CFL, honestly. But at this rate, if they lose to the Patriots, I'd say next week is his last chance, because after that, Broncos, Raiders, Bills, Broncos, Chiefs to end the season for the Chargers. They're going to lose at least one of those games to the Broncos with how they've been playing. They might even lose to the Raiders, and they could definitely lose to the Chiefs and the Bills. So they could easily go 0-5 after that Patriots game to end the season, be absolutely a disgusting 5-12, and just Brandon Staley goes out. There is zero chance that you can have Brandon Staley next year, because this summer the Chargers extended Justin Herbert, and if you're going to get him a new head coach, you got to do it now. Every day, minute, week, month, whatever, that you keep Brandon Staley from whoever Justin Herbert's next coach is going to be, you're losing value on the contract. Get him out of there.
Yep.
Although one thing though, if the wheels do fall off for the Chargers, that roster talent with a competent head coach and a top 10 draft pick, oh my God. Like that could be a
Get Brian Dable to the Chargers.
That could have been super
No, it
dangerous
could
for
have
Sean
happened in the
Payton
first place.
if he would have waited one more year.
Or
Not
let
that he's gonna be-
or,
look, he's
or
doing a
Eric
great job
Bieniemy,
with Denver.
or Eric Bieniemy.
Oh,
heading
yeah.
back on,
That's going back to the AFC West too, getting to play.
Speaking of a guy
Chiefs
that could be
twice a
fired
year.
any day now, Ron Rivera. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I can't believe he's still got a job.
Yeah.
But, all right, this one's for you, Jesse. What are the chances for anybody to make the playoffs in the AFC South other than the division champion?
Ooh, I think very good. I think no matter what, the Texans are going to make the playoffs, and if they don't win the division, they're going to make the playoffs as the 7th seed. Their schedule for the rest of the year, not very difficult. They have Denver, the Jets, Tennessee twice, Cleveland, and Indianapolis. I think that they can easily win 3 to 4 of those games, and if they do that, then they'll slide right in at least 7th, maybe 6th seed. So at this point, only 2 teams from the East are going to make it. Possibly 2 teams from the West.
Are 2 teams from the East going to make it? That's
Actually,
a separate question. I'm just
we don't
thinking
even
of
know.
now.
Buffalo might not
Yeah.
make it. At this point, the North looked the strongest, but now, the Bengals have kind of dropped out of the race, and the Browns are kind of dropping unless they can find a quarterback on the waiver wire. They're going to keep on dropping. So, yeah, absolutely. The Texans looked great, even in the loss, missing a 58-yard kick to tie the game. So, yeah, I think absolutely they're going to make the playoffs.
My hot take is watch out for Minshew Mania and the Colts, because they got
They're 6 and
Tennessee.
5.
I was about
They're
to say
6 and
there's a
5.
world where
Tennessee,
the AFC
Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Las Vegas, Houston. That Houston-Indianapolis game, last game of the season, that might be the one we need to go to in Week 18, because that's going to be a good one, I think.
How about this? There is a world where there's 3 AFC South teams in the playoffs.
Right.
I would not be surprised. I mean, if you look at the playoff picture right now, I don't. Buffalo's schedule down the stretch is really difficult. I think they're going to be hard pressed.
Yeah, Buffalo needed that win a lot.
I mean,
this
yeah.
past week.
Denver's playing good football right now. They could get in there. But Houston and Indianapolis are probably the 2 best teams in that fight for the 7 seed right now. And then you've got Cleveland, who seems to be on the decline. And I don't want to say anything about Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, you have no idea. Are they going to go back to 9-8, or are they going to have one of those seasons where they BS their way to 12-5, and all of a sudden they're in the running, like they have a home field advantage in a playoff game? Like, you don't know what's going to happen with Pittsburgh. They'll probably end up making it, but there's, in my opinion, 2 spots that are up for grabs, and it could very well be both Indianapolis and Houston.
Agreed. Zach, over to you. Chances the Rams make the NFC playoffs as a wild card now that Kyron Williams is back, and obviously he's going to win a lot of fantasy championships.
Yeah, Kyron Williams looked really good in fantasy. Very thankful I kept him on one of my rosters. Didn't do anything with that. Honestly, I didn't have him on many rosters, but the fact that I had him on one and kept him this whole time, well worth it. But honestly, I got to look ahead to the Rams schedule, see who they're playing to really get an idea. Because right now they're sitting outside the playoff picture at 5-6, and there's still plenty of teams that are competitive for, I would say, the last 2 wild card spots are the ones that are really up for grabs. So the Rams they're playing where is it? The Browns, the Ravens, the Commanders, the Saints, the Giants, and then they end with the Niners. That's a brutal way to end.
That sounds like 3-3 to me.
That does sound
the
like
Giants, the 49ers may not be playing for anything. Just a thought.
I mean,
They
Like,
might have to bank on that.
Say they get to 4-2, that puts them at 9-8.
Yeah.
Is that enough in the NFC?
I don't know if that's enough in the NFC.
Maybe.
but
I'm
to
just
be
going to say
fair-
maybe. You might be able
Yeah.
to sneak in.
Like that
to
might be
be
enough.
fair, I mean that's kind of asking for the Vikings to kind of fall back a little bit, the Seahawks to fall back a little bit.
You
I mean,
you
you're
have
asking-
the tiebreaker with the Seahawks though. They beat them twice.
Seahawks have the worst
All right.
schedule too going forward. They're facing the Niners. They just lost to, and then they face the Cowboys, Eagles, and Niners again for the next 3 weeks.
Oh, they're done. They're done.
Oh my god. Yeah, I
It's so
I
bad.
forgot about the Seahawks schedule.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance, but I don't think it's a high one. This schedule kind of screams 3-3, especially if the Niners still have a chance to fight for a 2 seed or whatever. I think there's a very good chance that the Niners are fighting with someone for that second playoff spot. So if the line stays as good as we think they are, the Niners might have a reason to play. So I'm going to say no. I think it's still unlikely. I know the Seahawks have a very brutal schedule coming up, but I feel like they could still find a way to hold the ship and steer it into the playoffs. Plus the fact that the Packers look pretty solid as well. They're actually right above the Rams right now. They have a decent chance as well.
Right above Brian's Saints too.
Yeah, and they will continue to be. Speaking of my Saints, Jack, the entire NFC South, should we just relegate them to arena football?
I mean, yeah, I'm good with arena football. I saw in that question where you asked originally if we should relegate them to college football. I was going to say no to that because I actually watch college football and I don't want to watch them there either. So arena football, I don't watch. I'm good with that. Let's send them there. This division is putrid. I mean, there's not a single. Actually, no, that's not true. I like watching the Falcons just because of Bijan. That's the only reason I like watching the Falcons, because he's so much fun to watch when he gets the football. Their defense, I don't enjoy watching. The rest of the division, I have yet to have a moment this year that I've enjoyed watching. I can't, we got to get rid of this division, man. The fact that one of these teams has to make the playoffs is just sad.
I know at this point, I'd rather make it as a wild card and get to play like the 3rd seed than have to play Dallas as the 4 seed, even though that would be a home game. All right, here's a big question, and I'm going to ask it to you, Jesse, since you saw all of Tommy DeVito yesterday. Is he the starting quarterback week 1, 2024 for the Giants?
No, I don't. Come on.
But come on.
I know.
He's
It
won
was
2
hilarious.
games in a row.
They played the Sopranos theme when he came out of the tunnel. It was hilarious. But no, beating the Patriots does not mean you get to start in 2024. Although honestly, maybe that is enough to start in the state of the quarterback play in the NFL right now. But no, I think he beat the Commanders, who have just been crumbling the last couple of weeks, and then the Patriots. I don't think that makes you you don't deserve a starting spot in the NFL because you can beat 2 pretty bad teams. So no, Tommy DeVito is not going to be the starting quarterback for the Giants next year. Maybe he should
Zach,
be, but he's not going to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Will, Zach, any great teams in the NFL right now? I'm not feeling it, but I know I'm wrong. I know somebody's going to make a run.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a weird season where even the best teams have shown serious concerns with how they've been playing. I mean, of course, yes, my Eagles, they're 10-1. I should probably be the last person even talking about this topic. But every single game that we've played has somehow turned into an ugly back and forth who wants to win it type of match. And we've been able to come out on top every time, but it is concerning for can you maintain that style of play into the playoffs, or is it just showing that you can win any scenario? We don't know. The Niners looked really dominant until that 3-game losing streak. That was really concerning. The Chiefs have had a few games where they have just forgotten how to play football. They've had a lot of second half struggles. The Ravens, while they are arguably, they might be the great team this year. no one's fully convinced they can even win their division with how other teams have been playing right now. Plus, at the same time, I question their wide receiver room, even though it's been performing pretty well. Overall, you look around the NFL, every single team, there's something you can be like, well, I'm not so sure about them with them. So I don't know if there's truly a great team, despite the fact that we have a 10-1 squad in the NFL right now.
I think both of these things can be true. I think it can be completely true that this is a really weird NFL season and anything can happen this year because we've seen it. But at the same time, there are great teams. The Eagles are an objectively great football team. They're sitting at 10-1. They went to the Super Bowl last year. They were so close to winning it. This team is still really good. They've been dominant in every facet this year. In their close games, they're resilient. They don't lose. When you think that they're going to lose, they find a way to win. That's a great team. That is a quality of a great team. I also think the 49ers are a great team. But because that 3-game skid, they were not healthy. They were completely banged up. You don't have Deebo Samuel. You don't have Trent Williams. 2 massive losses. They weren't themselves. In every game the Niners have had their team fully healthy this season, they have been great, dominant and great. So I think both of these things are true. We have great teams, and it's also a really weird season.
All right, here's the big one, Jack. Will Josh Dobbs or Jordan Love, if I give you a crystal ball, will Josh Dobbs or Jordan Love win a playoff game in the next 3 years?
I'm going to say no and no. Josh Dobbs, I think, is sort of going to become like a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of quarterback in that, like, he's not elite or anywhere close, but he's like one of those guys that just comes in as like a replacement level starter for 1 year for a team that needs a bridge quarterback and plays decently good football. Like, I think that's the sort of trajectory that we're going to see for Josh Dobbs moving forward. And could that player win a playoff game? Maybe. I mean, we saw Nick Foles win a Super Bowl when he was one of those, so you never know. But I think it's probably more likely than not that he wouldn't. And then for Jordan Love, he's played better lately. I'm still not completely sold on the Jordan Love as the Green Bay quarterback of the future thing. I think I need to like see the rest of the season play out before I have a real verdict on that. But if I were a betting man, I think I would bet against him. I think it's more likely that they go in a different direction moving forward than them sticking with him and him turning into a playoff caliber quarterback.
How you going to bet against the astronaut though? You don't think that Kirk Cousins, after tearing his Achilles, leaves the Vikings this year after seeing how Josh Dobbs does? They re-sign him or they keep him for the next at least 1 to 2 years, because at this point the Vikings aren't good enough to get a draft pick to draft a quarterback unless they were to trade up somehow. You want to keep somebody at least decent enough while you're in the middle of Jefferson's prime. Take Josh Dobbs again. Tell me, how hard is it to win a playoff game in the NFC? Doesn't need to be anything crazy. A wild card game.
I mean,
Daniel Jones did it.
You're basically you're asking them to beat San Francisco or Detroit, which I don't really see in the playoffs.
Jordan Love already beat Detroit in Detroit.
To be fair, both those quarterbacks play for division rivals. It means more to play a team like Detroit.
I think that's the avenue.
I'm just saying, if there's any team right now at the top of the NFC that I could see either the Packers or the Vikings beating like this year, if it were to be this year, it would be the Lions, especially since it's in division.
I mean, you're asking one of those teams to be the 6th seed in that case, but likely in that case. I mean, you never know. The Lions.
I think that's definitely likely for the Vikings, not for the Packers.
Yeah. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, the Giants only won a playoff game because the Vikings choked. The Vikings can't play themselves.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
True. Very true. That's a good point. Let's get on to true or false, everybody's favorite segment every week. I'm going to start with you, Jesse. The Jaguars, or true or false, the Jaguars have a decent chance to be the number 1 seed.
True. They're the number 1 seed right now. I think that they could definitely finish the season and, stretch out the number 1 seed. They've been playing great. Albeit they had a bad game against the 49ers, but who doesn't have a bad game against the 49ers? And to close out their season, they get to play Cincinnati next week while they're shorthanded, kick them while they're down. Then they play the Browns, also shorthanded. Then they play the Ravens. Okay, that one might be tough. Maybe they'll lose that game. And then you get the Buccaneers, Panthers, and Titans to end the season. Titans week 18 won't be a gimme. Even if they're kind of hanging it up, that won't be a gimme. It's a division game. But the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Browns, and the Bengals, they should win all 4 of those games. The Ravens, they might lose. And if they beat the Ravens, then they absolutely should have the 1 seed. So, yeah, I'd say there's a very fair chance that they get the first round bye in the playoffs.
Crazy. The Jaguars.
All
right.
AFC run
over to our draft guru, Jack. The Bears, true or false, the Bears will select a quarterback with one of their 2, I'll say top 10 picks. It may actually be top 5 picks.
I would be stunned if they don't. I think this is an easy true. I haven't been a Justin Fields guy for a long time. I argued last year they should trade Justin Fields instead of the first pick and take Bryce Young. Obviously, that hasn't necessarily worked out the way I had planned. But I think that is a similar concept that I would carry over into this year, that I just don't think Justin Fields is their quarterback of the future. I think it would be it would be way too, I don't know what the right word to use here is, but I just don't think it would be smart to keep Justin Fields around, especially with the quarterback class of this one is. You've got Caleb Williams and Drake May, 2 great options to potentially take number 1 or number 2, depending on where they land. I would be pretty shocked if they didn't do it.
Zach, the Broncos, Zach, true or false? The Broncos will make the playoffs in the AFC as a wild card.
I never thought I'd be saying this, but true. I mean, their schedule lines up so well for them. I think there's a legitimate chance they finish this season 4-2 in their next 6 games. So they're going to Houston. That's going to be a loss. But then they're playing the Chargers, they will find a way to lose. I think Staley gets fired after this game in particular. So they're probably going to find a way to beat the Chargers. They go to Detroit, which I think is a loss, but Detroit has looked beatable as of recent. I'm going to say it's a loss, though. Then they host the Patriots, they host the Chargers, and they go to Las Vegas. I think that is a really good way for the Broncos to be able to make the playoffs. I think they go 4-2. They beat the Chargers twice, yes, twice, and then defeat the Patriots and the Raiders. They're going to be able to make the playoffs with those wins. Sitting at 10-7, that might just be enough to make the playoffs.
I just want to say,
true.
I just want to say, I was called the madman at the start of the season when I picked the Denver Broncos as my dark horse. I'm not going to victory lap yet, but just know if they do that, it's coming because I said the Denver Broncos were my 7th seed and that they would be better than the Chargers and the Raiders. I think the Chargers, what is it that Jeff Goldblum says? Life finds a way. The Chargers find a way. The Chargers find a way to just mess their entire season up every year and just do the same thing over and over. It's actually crazy that it's the same story, 10 years ago when they're the number 1 defense, number 1 offense and missed the playoffs. Chargers find a way. They're going to find a way to lose to the Patriots next week. So I'm with Zach.
And if the Broncos make it to the playoffs, Sean Payton might be your coach of the year. After
they're making the playoffs. This is true.
All right, Jesse. Jesse, true or false? The Steelers' offense will average over 350 yards a game the rest of the way with Matt Canada gone. Yesterday, they had 421. Before yesterday, they had averaged 293. Can they get 350?
And also snapped like a 36-game streak of not having over 400 yards in a game.
First time having over 400 yards since 2020.
Oh, my God.
The last time they had 400 yards, they did it in front of no fans.
I'm going to say –
I thought I called on Jesse, but maybe not.
False. I'm going to say false. Even though the Matt Canada era is finally over, it's not coming at a great time. They do get to face the Cardinals, but after that, they go to New England, then the Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, and the Ravens. There's a few strong defenses in that mix, and I think it's going to be hard for them to average almost 400 yards a game against defenses mainly like the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Colts. You can throw the Patriots in there if you want to. Their offense stinks, but the defense is still all right. So I'm going to say this is false. I think that they are going to continue to be better, but this is still the Steelers' offense. This is still the same Kenny Pickett. So false.
All right, we're going to end it here. This segment, true or false, Jack? The Ravens and Jaguars don't really have enough firepower on offense to make a statement in the AFC playoffs.
I think I'm going to say false because I think the Jaguars' offense is what would help them make a statement in the AFC playoffs. If the Jaguars were to go on a run, it would be because of their offense. Their defense is fine. Obviously, Josh Allen is incredible. But outside of him, their defense is really just okay. It's their offense that really makes this team special. And when they have their big weeks, it's Trevor Lawrence going off. It's Calvin Ridley actually playing good football. It's Travis Etienne. It's Evan Engram having a big game. Christian Kirk. That's what makes this team explode. So if they are going to make a big run, I think it would be on their offense. And maybe you could say true about the Ravens in that their offense wouldn't be explosive enough. But I think their offense is good enough that with that defense that is one of the best in all of football, they can really compete in the AFC playoffs with just a good offense. Their offense doesn't need to be the best of the best for them to win it all. So I'm going to say false for different reasons, but I think both of them have merit behind it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that I think it's going to be tough for both of those teams because I just think you're going to get into a game. Kansas City's going to figure some stuff out. If Buffalo makes it, we know they can get in a shootout like they did yesterday. They're going to have to score. And I don't know if the Ravens truly have the wide receivers to do that. And the Jaguars have been kind of disappointing all year. I mean, ATN's been good, but, Calvin Ridley hasn't been great, although he's starting to step up of late. So
the last 2 weeks.
I worry about those two offenses, but we'll see how that goes. Zach, your time to captain the ship. Let's go.
Yeah, let's see. We're going to compete against each other. Who has more touchdowns this year, Deron Bland or the following players? All right, so
I'm so excited for this. This
I'm
is
going to give you guys
crazy.
a player, and you're going to tell me if they have more or less than Deron Bland's 5 pick-6 touchdowns this season. You guys ready?
Ready.
Can someone keep?
Are we just shouting them out, or
I'm gonna give you the name, and then each of you will guess whether it's over or under.
all right?
Okay. And again, Deron Bland has 5. All right, starting off with Derrick Henry, over or under? More or less touchdowns?
I'm going to say Derrick Henry is less because he had 2 touchdowns yesterday, but I'm pretty sure that was his 2nd and 3rd of the year. I'm going to say less.
I'm gonna say more. I think while it's been a quiet year for the King, I'd be shocked if he has less than 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say more as well. I know he had 2 yesterday. I remember at least 2 others. So I'm going to say more.
Derrick Henry has 6 touchdowns this season. That is more.
I don't know why I thought that was his. I'm losing my mind.
All right, next, his teammate, DeAndre Hopkins.
Hopkins has to have less. I feel like he's had like 2 or 3 this year.
So I know Hopkins had that one game where he had 3. But right. I don't actually. I think this is less because I haven't seen his name pop up on my phone notification of DeAndre Hopkins touchdown very many times this year. I'm going to say it's less. It's probably 4.
I'm thinking it might be those 3, so I'm going to go less as well.
All right, so DeAndre Hopkins has 4 touchdowns this year. It is less.
Right.
It is less. All right, next, Devontae Adams.
I'm almost 100% sure this is less.
This is insane. It's probably less though. I think I'm going less.
Yeah, I think he's got 4, so I'm going to go less as well.
Devontae Adams also has 4 touchdowns this season. Yeah, he is.
That is just broken. That is insane.
Yeah, it is rough out here. Bijan Robinson, Jack's favorite player.
Oh man.
Jack, you should know this.
Yeah, I'm so bad at remembering stuff like this though.
With the way Arthur Smith uses him, you have no idea.
There's at least 3 that stick out in my head as memorable. Are there more than 3 others? Is my question. I think I'm going to say he has more. I'm going to say he has more.
I'm going to say he has more because he got 2 yesterday. I don't think before yesterday he had more, but I think now he does.
I agree. I'm thinking this number is exactly 6, and he had the 2 yesterday, so more.
Yes, it is exactly 6 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson with 1 more than Deron Bland. Jordan Addison.
Oh, he had a couple really good weeks, but I feel like he's been a little quieter lately on the touchdowns. And he also has one less week because they haven't played yet this week. So I'm gonna say less.
I'm going to say more because I know that Jordan Addison was leading, or he was tied for second in the league with touchdowns. I think with 6, like 4 weeks ago. So I'm going to say more.
I think like after 3 or 4 weeks, he already had 4. So I definitely think he's over.
Yes, he is over. He has 7 touchdowns this season.
Oh my god!
All right.
I'm so bad at this.
Finally, a game Jack's bad at.
I know.
I know.
All right.
This is like me playing any connection.
Here's a very interesting one because he has a season-ending injury. Mark Andrews.
Oh, F off.
I think I'm gonna say less. I feel like he wasn't having the touchdown production that he usually does, but this year before he got hurt.
Can I guess push? Can I guess that they both have 5? I'm going to guess that they both have 5.
I mean, it's not over or under, so it'd be wrong 100% of the time.
Okay, well, since it's one of them.
So I mean, if it's not the same, then it's wrong.
He did say none of them have.
Oh,
equal.
okay, I missed that.
I did tell you that.
All right, you know what? Okay, I'm going to say Mark Andrews has more. I'm going to pray because he wasn't. I had him on my fantasy team. He was not getting very many yards, but he was finding the end zone. He also had at least 1 2-touchdown game. I'm going to say it's more.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think early in the season he was catching a few touchdowns with like 38 yards receiving. So more.
Jack, this is not your game,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Mark Andrews with 6 touchdowns on the year.
I'm not good at remembering stats. That's like the one thing I'm really bad at.
Oof. Come on, man.
Yeah.
All right. Michael Pittman Jr.
Okay, I have Pittman in a couple fantasy leagues, so I'm a big Pittman guy. I should know this. I think I'm going to say more. He's been really good this year, but a lot of it's yards and receptions though. Oh my god! Now I'm changing my answer. Less. I'm changing my answer.
You can't change your answer.
Okay, fine, and more. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to say it's less because it's definitely less.
I'm going to say less. He scored yesterday, but I don't think he's got. I don't think he's got 5.
I don't think he scored yesterday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Or did he not?
No, he had a great
okay.
game, but he had that's why I was thinking of changing my answer.
I honestly would be surprised if he has more than 3 this year. I don't think he's scored that much.
So Michael Pittman Jr. has 3 touchdowns this season. Jesse, you are on point today.
I'm just
All right,
bro.
Next, everyone's
he doesn't know what clubs each of these guys was in college like Jack does, but you know how many touchdowns he scored.
all right. Next is our favorite PPR merchant, Alvin Kamara.
This has to be less. This has to be less. He doesn't score that many touchdowns, right? Like
Oh my god, that could be. This is rushing and receiving though.
Yeah, that is true.
It is.
I still think it has to be less.
I also do have him in a fantasy league, and he is the self-titled PPR merchant. So I think I'm going to say less as well. He hasn't found the end zone that much, despite having a phenomenal season. Also, Taysom Hill. Screw Taysom Hill.
So we all know nobody scored a touchdown for the Saints yesterday. But I believe Alvin's had 2 games where he's had 2 each. So I'm going to say over. I'm going to say above, whatever it is.
Okay, so Alvin Kamara has 3 touchdowns this season as well.
Oh,
It is less.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Finally.
It's honestly less than I expected him to have. All right. Isaiah Pacheco.
I think this is more. He's had a few games this year where he's had big touchdown days. Not necessarily big yards days, but he's had big touchdown days. I'm going to say more.
Oof. I know he also had 2 this week. I'm going to say more. I can think of at least 2 other ones in my head. So I'm going to say more.
I have Pacheco on my main fantasy football team. I think it's definitely more because he's saved a few weeks with like 30 yards and a touchdown.
It is more. He has 6 touchdowns this season.
All right. There we go.
God, all these numbers are so low. I know you
Yeah.
picked these people on purpose, but it's kind of sad.
No, I honestly, looking at this list, I was like, who would be the most interesting to talk about that are somewhere around not having 5, but around that, and not make it too crazy. All right. DJ Moore.
Oh God. He had that one insane week, but I don't know how many he had that week.
Mhm.
Did he have 3 that week?
He had 3.
I think he had 3 that week.
Yeah, I think he had 3.
But
Each one longer than the
has
next.
he had?
Too.
Did he have 3 more? I don't know that he did. I think I'm going to say less. I can't think of 3 more.
So I don't think he was doing very well in the games without Justin Fields, but I do think that Justin Fields played enough games to get him 6 touchdowns. So I'm going to say it's more. I know he scored this week as well, so I think it's more. 3 in one night, and you don't have more than 5. Come on.
I think it's less. I'm going with Jack. I think those are his 4 touchdowns.
DJ Moore with 6 touchdowns this season. He does have more.
This might be over.
Still plenty of names left on the board. Plenty of time for a comeback.
Not for me. For Brian, maybe.
Next, we have Gabe Davis.
He's too inconsistent. I think it has to be less. Although I know this is this is totally the one that's going to bite me. Like it's going to be more because I think it's less, but I'm still going to say less.
I think it's definitely more because Gabe Davis does not do a lot of things, but he finds the end zone. There was a stretch. I think he had 3 or 4 straight games in a row to start the season with a touchdown, and he was also at one point him and Cortland Sutton were tied for the lead. So I'm going to say it's more. Jack, you know nothing.
He had a touchdown. He had a touchdown in 4 straight. He had one yesterday, and if he ran the correct route, he'd have had 2 yesterday. So yes, definitely more.
I agree. He probably should have had 2. Gabe Davis with 6 touchdowns this season.
Only 6 still?
More than Deron Bland.
He must have had 5 in like the first 4 weeks and then just fell off a cliff or something.
He had 1 a week, like weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6 or something.
All right,
like
all right. You guys ready for this?
Uh,
Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers.
That's crazy.
I feel like it's on here to make us think that like there's no way it's on here unless it's more, right? Like it's too obvious that it's less.
Psychology now.
No, well that's the only way I'm getting one of these right. But yeah, I think
Right.
it's too obvious that it's less. I'm gonna say more.
Fantasy flex god Jaden Reed. Now, this is also a guy who I don't think he's caught enough, but I'm pretty sure he's like a jet sweep guy who might have run one in as well. So I'm going to say more. I know he scored this week as well.
Jack, I think you're a genius for your reasoning on this one. I think he wouldn't have been put on here. It's put on here to make you think, well, there's no way, right? But he scored yesterday or Thursday, and I think it's more.
With 1 rushing touchdown, Jaden Reed has 6 touchdowns this season.
That's great.
Great job reading the room.
Psychology works, man. It just does.
All
All right, next we have Taysom Hill.
I think. Does this include passing?
No.
It's just rushing and receiving.
Yes.
Okay. This still could be more. I know he's had games where he has like a rushing and a receiving. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had more than one of those. I think I'm going to say more.
Freaking Taysom Hill. Does this include passing?
It is not passing.
No.
It is rushing and receiving combined. So for instance, at like near the top of this list is Jalen Hurts 11 rushing touchdowns.
Okay. So if this were counting passing as well, because he's a skill position player, I would say it's true. But just rushing and receiving, I don't think he's got more than 5. He steals from Kamara a lot, but I don't think he's got more than 5. So I'm gonna say less.
3 weeks ago, I traded Taysom Hill for Michael Pittman. I'm sorry, I traded George Kittle for Michael Pittman because I had Taysom Hill, and we roll with him at tight end. I'm saying more because I think there's at least 2 games that he's had 2.
Right, but I think one of those games, one of them was a passing touchdown, and that's why I'm just thinking about it.
No,
I don't think he's had. If he's had a passing touchdown, it's only been 1. I don't think he's had a lot. But you might be right. But I'm going to say over.
Taysom Hill, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown.
Damn.
Under with 4 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle
All right.
is our next guy. Jalen Waddle.
Oh man, I know he had a really slow start to the year, but he's picked it up lately. But has he picked it up enough to get to 6? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say less. I'm gonna say Waddle is less.
I'm also going to say less. It's been the Tyreek show every single week. And going through the guys on this list, there's no way that Jalen Waddle has more touchdowns than like half the guys on this list. So I'm going to say less.
Yeah, I think less as well. I think when he's had big weeks, it's been yardage and number of catches, not touchdowns. So I think he's probably at 4.
Very easy for your guys. Jalen Waddle, only 3 touchdowns this year.
Wow.
A little surprising. Tyler Lockett.
Oh man. Here we go again. I feel like I used this reasoning for Gabe Davis and it was nowhere near right, but I feel like Lockett is nowhere near consistent enough to have gotten to 6 touchdowns. And I think it makes a lot more sense to say that about Lockett than it did about Davis. So I'm gonna say less, but I again feel like this is one that's gonna bite me.
I'm also going to say less. It is the Seahawks pass catchers have not had a great season. So I'm going to say less.
I'm going to say less. I think the only player that might have more on the Seahawks is
Walker.
the running back that was out this week. Walker, yeah. Ken Walker. So less.
It is less. He has 4 receiving touchdowns this year. You guys are real good at this. All right. Zach Moss.
Oh boy. Did he
I haven't heard that name in years.
Was he good enough when JT was out to have gotten to 6? I feel like it's possible. Like he had multiple touchdown games. And he had one in the game that JT came back as well.
That he did.
I think I'm going to say more, which might be really stupid, but I'm still going to do it.
I'm going to say more because I know he had a couple huge fantasy performances on my bench, including a multi-touchdown game. And Jack's right. He did a lot of damage before JT came back. And then in the week that JT was back, he scored again. So he hasn't done anything in about 4 weeks, but I'm going to say he got it done in the front 9 and yeah, more for Zach Moss.
I think this is one of the easier ones. I think it's definitely more. He may even have 7.
So Zach Moss has 5 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown.
Oh.
That makes 6.
Let's go. Oh.
Not 7, but 6. Devon Achane.
Oh boy, this is like a similar thing. He didn't have anything until he had the whatever. Did he have 3 touchdowns in that one week? And then he had 1 or 2 in the next week. But I think at most he had 5, and you said there's none that are the exact same. I'm going to say less.
I'm going to say more. I'm pretty sure I think he had 4 touchdowns in the game against the Broncos. It was like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns or something ridiculous. And I think he had 6 in a 2-week span in weeks like 3 and 4 alone. So even though he has barely played, I'm going to say it's more.
Well, if I'm going to catch Jesse, I really have to pick opposite with only 3 guys left. But I definitely think this is more. So I'm just going to say more and give Jesse the win.
Devon Achane has 7 touchdowns this season. Yeah.
Oh my God. Why am I so bad at this?
Keep in mind, this is rushing and receiving, not passing. We do have a quarterback on this list, and his name is Josh Dobbs.
Oh man, I like this one. Because it's very possible he has 6 or more rushing touchdowns. I think I'm going to say he does. I think I'm going to say he has more. It feels like he gets one like every week.
I'm so torn. I love Josh Dobbs. I'm trying to think if he got one last week against the Broncos, which I think he did. And I know he got one the week before that as well. You know what? I love Josh Dobbs more. I love Josh Dobbs.
I know for a fact he has 5 weeks in a row with a rushing touchdown. So I'm going to go ahead and say more because he can't have equal.
Josh Dobbs with 6 rushing touchdowns this year.
He's him.
That is more. The final one I have written down here, and probably the reason this list.
Wait, really quickly. Has Jesse missed any yet?
I don't know if Jesse's missed one.
I don't know.
I think Jesse might have missed like
Yeah.
one.
Has he missed? I don't think he's missed one. I think
This is like a 56-game hit
This-
streak right here.
I know how. I don't know. A lot of these guys happen to be on my fantasy teams, and I just know whether or not they have multiple
Yeah.
touchdowns.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Let's see if you can
Just
complete the
going crazy.
feat then.
Final one that I have written down. I think I have one more, maybe one or two more I can pull out. We're gonna go with Brandon Cooks.
This has to be less. He did nothing until like he had that one big game like a week or two ago where I think he had like 2 touchdowns. But there's no way he has 6. There's no way. It has to be less.
Yeah, this is definitely less. Brandon Cooks was an afterthought for the first like 8 weeks of the season. He has come onto the scene over the last few weeks. I think he's still less though. It's still under 5.
I think this is definitely less. I haven't seen the Archer in the end zone too much, although I do think he scored Thursday, so I'm gonna say less.
Honestly, the fact that this is true, it's pretty much the reason this list was made. Brandon Cooks has 4 receiving touchdowns. Deron Bland has more touchdowns than any player not named CD Lamb.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And CD only has 6.
Yeah. CD. Let me see where CD is. CD has 7 touchdowns. CD has 7 touchdowns.
Oh. Did he rush
So,
one?
Could
Oh, he
you know
did
what?
rush one. He did rush one.
If you guys want to, I have 2 bonus.
I gotta
players
go.
can throw
I
out.
gotta go.
Oh,
The champion has to bow
When you
out.
get a perfect slate, he's got a
he's-
perfect
he's
slate.
Yeah,
Let
he
him
doesn't want to
go
do
He's
it.
next.
thickening out. Oh,
Champion's got to exit. Hey, great segment, Zach. I can't believe that Deron Bland has more touchdowns than almost like half of the very good skill position players in the NFL.
there's a lot of interesting pushes on this list.
Devontae
too.
Adams being under.
Does he have more than the Patriots?
Oh, I think he has
Yes,
more
yeah.
than every player on the Patriots. I'm pretty sure. I think I read it.
No. The Patriots cumulatively.
Oh,
Oh,
probably not.
Probably not cumulatively, but I know he has more than
Bourne
any
has
single
4.
player.
Bourne has.
Does
4.
he have more than Kenny Pickett? Oh, Kenny Pickett has 6. Dang.
Really?
Yeah.
Here's some
That is so
interesting
sad.
pushes. Remember, this is receiving.
And that's passing.
Mm.
That's passing, which is
Yeah,
even
that is
funnier.
passing.
But some receiving and rushing touchdown pushes. Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz, Lamar, Calvin Ridley, Saquon, Devonta Smith, Jonathan
They all have
Taylor.
the same amount as
These
Deron.
all have 5. DeAndre Swift, Nico Collins, Brandon Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jerome Ford, Rashid Rice,
Hey, shout
Gibbs
out.
and Laporta of the Lions, and Rashad White. Those are most, if not all, of the pushes.
Wow.
Unreal.
It's crazy. What a low scoring year.
Yep.
I mean, just deplorable.
All right, gents, I got to run.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Are we doing our connection or are we exiting?
Do we want to save it or do we want to do it?
We could,
We can say. You want to save it for Wednesday?
I don't know. We could do it if you want. I have time.
Oh, you have time?
Yeah, I've got the time. We can do whatever you want.
You know what? I think, we've done a lot. That was a pretty long segment. I think it's best if we save it for Wednesday. Come back Wednesday to watch us figure out. I'm assuming, Jack, you made this?
No, I think it was Jesse.
Okay, well, watch us just lose our mind
So it'll be
over
possible to
Jesse's
finish.
impossible connection on Wednesday.
Yeah. We're also going to do a little trivia where a player went to college, where they were drafted, and where they are, most recently, and see if we can guess some of those. That's 3:30 Eastern on Wednesday. So if you want to check it out live, we'll also have it all up on YouTube and on our social, whatever, afterwards. So
You'll see me look less
Um,
stupid
any-
than Deron Bland made me feel.
You know what? I'm just glad you have a weak spot, and now we know it. And that's why your fantasy team is going to be going down in the playoffs as well. So be ready for that. Any parting words of advice from either of you? Can we get an update on the Lakers?
Yeah, let's get an
Sixers
update real
story?
quick. Almost at halftime, Sixers 64, Lakers 42.
Oh my God.
2 minutes until halftime.
Oh my
The
God.
Lakers spaces tonight on X are gonna go crazy.
Oh my God. Oh,
So
is
excited.
AD out? I didn't even realize that. Oh no, he's leading the team in score. I'm blind. Oh man, I'm distraught.
LeBron James.
The
plus
question
minus-
isn't
hold on.
is he in? It's does it matter?
Uh,
It only matters 1 out of every 4
Again,
games,
just-
and this isn't
just
one
one more
of
thing. LeBron James, a plus minus of negative 22
The Lakers' stats don't even look that
in
bad.
15
They're
minutes.
getting
In 15
spanked.
minutes, by the way. In 15 minutes.
The players are shooting efficiently. They're just getting spanked. Oh my
Mm.
God, that's brutal.
That's what
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid did.
All right. Well, enjoy it tonight, Zach, because Wednesday's going to be a whole lot of heartache.
Oh,
All right. All right. It's been fun. See you guys Wednesday. Take us out, Music Maestro.
Bad boy.